I'd like to welcome you to the Ride Leader training for this year. Thanks to all you who came, and I'd like to also express my appreciation to CMAS for allowing us to host the meeting here. So please be careful with your coffee and crumbs and so on in the theater. So we're going to try to do our best to be done by 12 so that you guys can get out of here. And that's people talking back. Sorry. So anyway, so we're going to cover a number of different topics, kind of an introduction stuff, and Jeff will be talking about some of our administrative materials, registration for rides, preparation, if you're leading a ride, how to get it, how to prepare for it. As you're gathering people, particularly either on large rides or small rides, as you're gathering them in the parking lot prior to leaving, so pre-ride, then things to do on the road and maybe things after you return. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and pass the microphone over.
All right. Thank you. And oh, am I on a tether? Oh, I don't know how this. Well, I'm going to be handing it over to Michael in a second too. So I am Jeff Stevens. Many of you we've already chatted. Many of us know. I am the full-time staff person for Columbus Outdoor Pursuits. And first of all, I want to thank Pink for hosting us here for the something a year. It's tight, it's cozy, but we managed to make do. I want to thank those that are joining us via Zoom, and the fact that our ride leaders have done such a great job in the past 2 years in particular. We've said, look, if you can just come in, if you're doing a refresher, just come on in via Zoom, and that's good for us. So your behavior as ride leaders has been wonderful, so there's not this draconian need to really get you in the room and hammer something to you. So I want to also say that this used to be a draconian, bureaucratic, administrative nightmare. So this training used to be, it was for event leaders, and I don't know if is there a camera on me? Somebody's up there. I gotta get the cadence up a little. Stairmaster, yeah. This used to be like a 90-page manual. I didn't bring it with me this year, and it used to take at least a full day, if not 2 days.
I sat for 10 hours in one.
10 hours.
It was mind-numbing and butt-numbing as well.
So we're going to try and ram through this in 3 hours. My particular piece, we've kind of honed down a good bit as far as people understand what we're doing and how we're doing it on the administrative and insurance side of things. So I will hopefully ram through that stuff very quickly. Now, who's your audience? How many here are first-time ride leader trainees? All right. Bingo. Okay, this is awesome. Welcome. And before I get there, where's our Columbus Outdoor Pursuits slide? You have a clicker. So already up. Where's the one with all the or just go next?
So your next slide is up there.
Oh,
if you look in the back.
There. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I got
there are your slides.
I got it there. Columbus Outdoor Pursuits is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. A couple of years ago when I first came on board, I was riding with a fella who does a lot of things here with COP, and I said, what do you think COP does? Oh, you put on cheap bike rides with stale trail mix and bologna sandwiches. And I said, yes, you are correct. But did you know that we have granted $1 million to the Ohio to Erie Trail Development Fund through our bike development fund over the last 20 years? No. Oh my God. You know that we seeded bicycle advocacy organizations here in Central Ohio. We contributed, made grants to the Bike Lady and other bike development funds. So there is a purpose for what we do. It's not just about, obviously, all the things we do, the riding, the tours. Yes, we put them on to put them on and do what we do, but there's also a purpose behind it. in that we'd like to leave a legacy and make things better in our environment. So that's what we do. Did I get all that stuff right on there? Probably. I said it the way I say it. And I tell you what, we'll come back. I want to introduce our president, new president, Michael Carl. You remember Jerry Rampelt, who used to come, tall, late 70s guy who looks like he's 60, was our president for about 6-7 years. And Columbus Outdoor Pursuits kind of hung by a thread during the pandemic. We're back on solid ground, thanks to all that you do and all the other tours we have. Bicycle thing is sort of declining in numbers, but we still have a solid base with doing what we do. We have gotten a new president, Michael Carl, so come on up. And our other board members in the room, Penny Marshall over here, Trish Kovacs back there. Am I missing anybody? No. We've got key volunteers like Mike Michael, who leads our Ohio to Erie Trail Adventure, Steve Tippett, who sends out all the wonderful stuff for our weeknight rides. So there's a lot of people that contribute greatly. Michael, when I was talking to him a month ago, said, we really need to ensure that we make our rides attractive to new people and don't spit out people that come to join us. We've developed this wonderful partnership with the Pelotonia in the last couple of years. They, we're trying to attract them to some of our rides. We've created some of their loose groups, put them up under our umbrella. But we don't want people to get spit out, to come and never come back. So I'm going to introduce our president. This is just the vibe I'd like us to consider as we move through today and through this year.
Well, thank you. I was recently riding with a longtime COP member, Eve Hush. She said, I talk to other people in COP. Nobody knows who you are.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I am Michael Carl. I'm the COP board president. Some of you that go on GOBA probably see me with a camera a lot, taking pictures.
Beautiful bicycle too.
Yeah, most people know me by my bicycle, not so much me. These rides that you guys do are often a new rider's introduction to group riding. And they come on our rides for companionship, navigation, safety, probably not to score their personal best that day. Riding is, with your group, is their first encounter with group riding, where they learn safe riding practices, group riding, and most importantly, they hear from other riders what a great time they would have if they went on GOBA or TOS or Exoba, OTA, Oktoberfest. My first day as a club rider was as a club ride leader was in 1990. 20 riders, a few of the riders were new. 3 had just graduated up from the D-Ride group. As we made our way out of Philadelphia, I scurried from the front of the group to make sure that they made the right turns to the back of the group to see how the people in the back were doing. In the process, 2 riders from the middle missed a turn and we lost them for good. At the lunch stop, I was despondent. I was going to get fired. My only hope was that they were women and they might ask for directions. And 10 minutes later, they showed up and they had asked for directions. I wish I had a satisfactory way of a solution to dealing with the wide range of riders that show up on your rides. The majority of the people that will ride with you are regular riders, experienced. They have a decent pace they like to go at. Slowing down to them is irritating. On the other hand, new riders show up and they're not going to be as fast, and they certainly don't have the route memorized. And losing them off the back is a little bit rude. If you do lose a rider off the back, a new rider off the back, there's a good chance that he's not ever going to come back. If a new rider gets a flat and you leave him there to his own devices, not only is he not going to come back, but he's going to talk to all his friends. And there are stories about some bike groups floating above Columbus that decades after those clubs have gone defunct about the raw experience they had when they got a flat tire on a group ride. This is not a viable way to keep our program going. So what could you do? I had to write all this down. I don't know. My memory's shot these days. I don't know how that happened. Ideally, you have somebody, a designated rider that can slip back and keep those riders company. Dick Seaboden, he used to drop back to me and tell me about how you could use manila rope as a inner tube substitute all the time, acted like he wasn't babysitting me back there. That's really the best thing to do. If you could just tell one of your good, your strong riders, hey, drop back there, keep them company. Stopping frequently is next best. Find a nice parking lot or a big driveway that will hold everyone. And then just stay there until you get the last riders coming in. And let the last riders get a chance to put their foot down and pull their water bottle out of their cage and drink. And get a drink before all of the ants in their pants riders start wanting to take off immediately. But that's not good either. The poor people in the end stop, and then the people in the front start taking off again. Act like you stop all the time. It's just a regular thing you do. Announce when you're going to leave like a minute before you're ready to go. This sort of gives everybody a chance to get their act together to get going again. Now, I know there are slower riders that in my own group that will always be slower, and no amount of coaching will get them to get their stuff together before getting started. But you gotta encourage them. I have faster riders who view any stop as some huge impediment to the rest of their lives. There's no professional bike racing contract in their future. They're regular recreational riders just like the rest of us. So just tell them to cool their jets. All right. And you can just slow the pace of the ride. It won't kill anyone to do that. All right. You have great routes that you've curated over the years. Most of your people know them. Someone new to cycling doesn't know them, nor are they likely to have just now invested $400 in the Garmin. So I know Ride with GPS works just as well on your phone, but it runs it down quickly, and they may need their phone after you abandon them when they get a flat tire. Just kidding, you wouldn't do that. So, barring cue sheets and maps, going back to cue sheets and maps, which is what we used back in the 1990s. If you have a new rider, you're going to have to keep them in sight for the entire trip. I've been one of those guys that's been dropped off the back, not knowing the route, and I desperately just tried to keep in sight the last guy that's in front of me, and sometimes he's lost too. So one night, Tuesday night ride out of Canal Winchester, I managed to make it back to Canal Winchester in a pouring rainstorm. This is a couple of years ago. Later that winter, at the Madison County pancake dinner or pancake breakfast coming up here in a couple months. I met a woman who told me that she just followed my tail like the entire way back. Her faith in me was badly I wish I had more suggestions and I'd like to hear from you on how to keep new riders in your group. I've not always been successful myself. I've had a new rider come and ride with our group, and then I never see them again. I'm gonna point out Penny here. She's one and done.
Another penny?
She rode with us once, never came back. She will someday. I'll
I
get her.
will. It really has nothing to do with the ride with the Navy. We were an excellent leader.
All talk.
Just for that one hill. Just for one hill. No.
All right. Well, anyways, keep up the good work. Bring new riders into the fold. They're the ones that are going to keep this club going. Or it's not a club. Into the future. So keep up the good work, and thank you all very much.
Oh, gosh, I had the microphone all that time.
Hopefully this one's working.
Oh, okay. So thank you, and recognize that I want to say, I know that we got a couple Team COPC people in here. I don't know if they're steady pedaling people, but with the broadening of our umbrella calendar listings, we've gotten some wonderful groups that really take pride in and do a wonderful job of nurturing new riders into the fold. As Mike, reminds me, it just takes somebody sometimes to be inspired, educated, shepherded, and it, within a few weeks, all of a sudden they find themselves maybe up to the C group or something, and then it's off and running. The next thing they know, they're riding with Aaron up with the Rivet people. We know that there are groups like our Tuesday Night Hilliard that has like multiple groups and multiple leaders. So this vibe is if, we want to try and point and find certain rides to point people to that say, for instance, Pelotonia friendly or welcoming new riders, to know that we have some leaders that really will shepherd those people and inspire them to keep coming back. So I hope I sort of underlined what you said. Michael.
Question, does belonging to Outdoor Pursuits give you a subscription to Ride with GPS?
No.
I got to pay for it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's a free option. He'll get on that later.
I'll tell you more about it later.
Okay.
You don't need that. You don't need to pay for it.
One other bit of housekeeping. Here again, we're an organization that does a lot of things for a lot of people. And I've got Aaron, if you could please come up. Gordon, please join me up here. Back in 2021, during pandemic, we awarded Aaron Earhart the Charlie Pace Memorial Volunteer of the Year Award. You might have been the first awardee.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's about time. Did we ever get you one? I thought maybe we spelled your name wrong or something. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Gordon Rinkus is the architect of what you were learning today. Really helped design and put this event leader training together. Gordon has a long history of volunteering with GOVA and many of our other weeknight rides, some of our ride series. This is the go-to bicycle education guy in Ohio, if not regionally or further. So if you want to know bike handling, education, how to ride on the road, this is your guy. And we've been so lucky to have him here in this community. When I was doing bike advocacy stuff, he'd be in the back of my ears saying, Jeff, that infrastructure is a bubble. He was pushing back, and I really appreciate that. But so we this year awarded him the Ryan Isley Memorial Outstanding Service Award, which is a lifetime achievement award that we award one per year. So I'd like to award you the actual thing. His name is up on another plaque in the office. So if you ever come by, say, hey, I want to see that plaque with all these guys' names. So thank you for all you do.
I was gonna say, the first one of this that I started was 2000. So this is the 25th
Wow.
execution.
Awesome.
Yes, Tricia, who is,
No, I
uh,
don't see it.
she's the second best bicycle education person.
Gordon taught effective cycling, which is the predecessor to the lab traffic skills class, and I took that a long time ago because I was going to be doing some beginner rides, and I wanted to know like how I teach new riders. And I didn't complete all the stuff he taught me that I didn't know, but so I just remember him riding in the center of the lane. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And it took me like 10 years before I finally figured out he was doing it the right way. But I just want to say a couple things about Gordon. Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks, Trish. Okay, so, yeah, we're not a club, we're a 501c3. We've been through this. We want our culture to be one of safety, education, inspiration. Part of our thing, when you go to our website, we provide safe, full service adventures. I don't know why this is here. Okay, this is my little spiel and why we are here today. We take risk management very seriously. Bicycles are vehicles. Interestingly, when people call and say, you know, I get one a week, can I bring an e-bike on GoBike or Kaza? I'm like, an e-bike is a bike, the bike is a vehicle. Yeah, there's some special code for it, but yeah, we operate our bikes on the road just like you would operate any other vehicle on the road. So we provide for our organization, for our registered riders, volunteers, and sponsors, due diligence so that we just make sure everybody's educated and that we don't, you know, avoid harm to other persons and property, etc. Translated, we have a very robust insurance coverage, 6 or 7 different policies that cover everything from board members to equipment. And I still don't know where everything quite lives, but I discovered we had a duplicitous policy last year that we didn't need to have, that we got rid of. So the bottom line here, oh my goodness, this is an old slide. But that being said, it protects you as ride leaders from suit or damages, and it protects the riders with add-on medical coverage. This past year, we've processed, we processed one claim and we're getting ready to process a second. That's actually a $25,000 add-on. So somebody's insurance covered what it could. They had some out-of-pocket expenses. So then our insurance would kick in. We've also had here as a ride leader, if there's some form of liability, you're at fault, some of our organizational liability can kick in. God, these are old slides, Hank.
You didn't take them out.
No, the one I sent you, but
I thought that, okay, I compared.
Okay, that's okay. My mind is like a trap.
Can you address when that insurance is actually in place for the rider? Is it only when they're on a sanctioned ride?
We'll come to that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, so this is what we had sort of said for the last couple of years. There were all these loose groups like Team COPC or Steady Pedaling or the Westerville Bike Club that doesn't exist anymore, but still people are identifying as. We said, look, we want to provide and put you up under our umbrella, offer you this benefit of insurance coverage. But more importantly, the thing that's important to us is that we have a calendar listing. This has been a pet peeve of mine, just like Michael's, you know, dropping inexperienced people off the back. Pet peeve of mine for 25 years, that there is one calendar in town that everybody goes to where they can find their ride. And with the advent of technology, email groups, quite frankly, some of the poor behavior on rides, we've found a lot of these little loose groups, and it starts with the retirees. Well, we don't need a club anymore. We're just going to be we've got our 10 guys, and we go out on, you know, in the morning when we want to go. So, and then with the advent of Pelotonia, we had all these sort of sanctioned quasi-loose groups that were, you know, out here welcoming new people in, but people didn't know where they were or how to find their people. So I've loved that once we've built this calendar, that people can go to one place, and our bike shops all of a sudden now have kicked in and they hand out our flyer, and it's like, oh, Columbus Outdoor Pursuits is relevant again in Central Ohio. if for anything, that calendar. But they can go and find their people. Now, you know, I could name various groups, but there are various, you know, ethnic, you know, there's, you know, wheels of color. Oh, but wait, we've got retirees. Oh, we've got rivet people. Oh, we've got the, you know, the Saturday morning Dutch go for breakfast ride. So it's whatever your people are, you will be able to find it there. And that's really important for us. And it's important for attracting people to somebody that sort of looks and feels like them, where they will stay and stick with cycling. I know you were thinking something, but here are the simple and non-obtrusive guidelines. Let me go back. Last year, we insured 35,000 plus event day coverage, meaning if you came on GOBA, that was 7 days, add him, that's 14. Every weeknight ride is 1. Positive is 2 days. So it adds up to a heck of a lot. And so that was 2 years ago, and it's up to about 35,000 now. Here's the deal. As a ride leader, you must be a COP member and attend this training. You present us a listing for a particular ride. We have a great number of rides already on the calendar. You'll use our best practices to manage that ride. The ride listing can maintain your identity. Like we've tried to take things out like Westerville Bicycle Club, A, because they don't exist, and B, because we're not trying to insure other groups. So if you're a loose group and have no identity, we can't insure Major Taylors because they actually they're incorporated as such. So we can't insure them. That's a good example. But everybody else, we can. And we're happy to call you the Team Huntington Tuesday Morning Crusher, Upper Arlington, 5 a.m.ers, whatever it is, we're able, we can call you something that maintains your identity. We encourage you to continue promoting within your channels, but we've also learned, for instance, I use that, the Upper Arlington 5 a.m. I was talking to Blake the other day. He said he discovered that ride on our calendar, and they got a couple of new people to that ride as a result of being listed, and they've welcomed them in, and it's all, it was a happy family of 5, and now it's a happy family of 10. And when I go this year, it's going to be a happy family of 11. Apparently, they buy you a donut at the end of the ride. So registration to ensure coverage for the riders, our ride leaders, and we'll go through this very quickly. They have to go through some processes and announce that we're up under the COP umbrella with coverage. We need you to register for the ride. In order to be covered as a rider, you register once for each recurring ride. So most of the people in this room are weeknight rider types. So if somebody registers for the Tuesday night Hilliard ride, they only do it once and they're good for the rest of the Tuesday night Hilliard rides for the year. The beauty is in our system, there are 35 plus rides listed. And at the beginning of the year, you can go in the matter of 2 minutes and you can register for what I do. I go register for all the rides I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to. Tuesday night Hilliard, Tuesday night Canal Winchester, Tuesday night Shamrock. I bounce around between
more
them.
days than Tuesday.
Exactly. I know. Registration cost is 0. Okay. What our ride leaders have done is they say, it costs you nothing to register, but your name has to be on the roster in our system in order to be covered by the insurance. There is a cost to doing this. And if Jerry, the old president, were here, he'd say, Jeff came to me 2 years ago and I thought he was crazy. He said, give away insurance. But just like any good, fundraiser, sometimes when you just slide the little bucket out there and say donations. And so we put in that registration. We'd love you to join as a member, $35, $30, whatever it is, or a $20 donation would help defray the cost of our insurance. we made up for that increase in premium for all these rides we listed just through the generosity of our riders doing the right thing and throwing in $20. Or becoming, our membership rolls have also gone up as well. So here it is. I said a soft ask during registration. Hey, make sure you're registered. It sure be nice if you join as a membership. You're not only going to be help defraying the cost of this insurance coverage, but you're going to get $25 off all of our major events and tours, Haas Road, Goba, et cetera, et cetera. So it pays for itself quite well. And when you register for one of these weeknight rides, you're going to get our monthly newsletter, e-newsletter, which has the stuff for all of our events. Yeah, we'll send you something at the end of the year that asks you for a contribution. But you're going to get a weekly email that our friend Steve back here puts together and owns and is quite proud of. And it says, here are all the rides for the week. But more importantly, up at the top is usually some of our friendly partner regional rides that we don't want to compete with and we want to let people know they're out there, like Pedal with Pete and Cranksgiving and, you know, Dunkin' Run or the Hot Tamale Ride or the Hero Ride. So we try and put those things up there to let the people that have come in know that not only do we also have some Saturday one-day rides, but also there's other stuff in the region. Just want to just let you know they're out there. Because our calendar does not list all those other rides. Thank you, Steve. Registration looks like this. It's a set of tiles. You can access it on your phone. It takes 1 minute to fill in your name, address, and all that stuff, and go through and find the rides you want to do. Discover a lot of people just went and click them all. And it makes the roster pretty unwieldy, but it's easy to do and make sure you're covered as a rider for all the rides. 99% of our riders have registered this way. It's easy, it's quick, it's in our system. Bada bing, bada boom, whatever, you know. If somebody walks up and they have not yet registered, one of the handouts I gave you was what I'd like you to keep with you in your car, particularly for the first handful of weeks of the season. And it's just, now, remember in the old days, remember you had to go to the car, find the car, who's tonight's ride leader? Oh, it's Trisha. You go over and she's got 2 things and you have to fill out your name and put your emergency contact and phone number and did I drive here or not? You had to do that every freaking week. You know, we don't have to do that now. Once is good. But this, if somebody walks up and they haven't registered online, it'd be nice to make sure they capture their name. They can scan this little feature right here. So this one's good for this year. Okay, so take that with you, tuck it in the back of your car. And as long as nothing happens that night with that person, just keep it in your car. But if something were to happen to that person just walked up, go ahead and we know that we've got them covered, okay? So we will email you every week or 2. We try and do it more so in the beginning of the year, the roster. Okay, our roster spits out everybody and everything, and it's in a PDF. I have got a master database administrator coming in within a week or 2 who's going to dive in and try and solve this problem with how to segment them out. Okay. So here's the deal. You're on a bike ride and, you know, we've sent you that PDF and it's in an email. As long as you can open a PDF on this, on your phone, you've got the emergency contact information for everybody who's registered for your ride here. And it might be one of 4,200 people by August, but everything is alpha and has been by ride date. So if you scroll down and know that your Tuesday night ride people are on or about page 32, you're good.
Jeff, thanks. We use that roster all the time, but understand you should have sent that out like on a Monday And I'll have guys that'll show up on Sunday for a ride and say, oh, I just registered last night. And I said, so number one, I don't have that PDF yet. So I do make them sign, even if they have registered, that 1-day registration form, just so I've got their emergency contact for that day. Because I can't go to my phone and look up the previous PDF, or once about 4 or 5 weeks go by, I just print one off and leave it, put it in my saddlebag. So I kind of got the general one. But then it's a good idea to, if you don't have their emergency contact information, because you haven't received that PDF yet, to, unless you're going to give us access online to the registration raw database, that might work as well with your new guy. But we make them sign that form till we get them on the database.
Careful what you wish for.
I know. If we could just pull it up on our phone and say, oh yeah, here's all your stuff, then that, I don't even have, then that helps.
Okay, there is an online request. Can you please email these documents to all of us so we can have them in electronic form?
Yes, we will do that, and we will also, as we kick off the season and we have our roster of ride leaders, we will email out a process and each of the applicable documents and some of the verbiage that you use at the beginning of each ride. So yes, we will do so. Okay, so we're working on it, continue to work on it. That being said, if you've got my email, my phone number, office@outdoor-pursuits, you are welcome to email or call or text if there is a situation, and I and/or our other part-time staffer can be available to go into the system and find something. It might take a little longer than if you have something in your pocket, but know that we are available in the case of an emergency. We will jump. Aaron called me last year. Somebody hadn't shown back up. And I know that so-and-so's car, I think it's so-and-so's car, I forget what the situation was, but we will try and be available in those circumstances. So yeah, that's last year's
That's this year's
registration. This year's? Okay.
That's this year's.
Okay. So I just gave you that stuff on a sheet. Day of ride. This is bringing a list of participants. That's really only applicable to our 1-day Saturday rides, the top of Ohio, the mid Ohio, or if you're, leading a tour, of course, we're going to get you a roster to be able to do that. But you don't need them for weeknight rides. It's on your phone, in your pocket. Roll call is optional. I know Michael is one of the few people that likes to know who is on the ride and et cetera. Here I talked about yesteryear, you used to go fill out that dumb thing every night. We don't have to do that anymore. Again, you've got this for walk-ups, but at the beginning of the ride, you're just saying, people, you need to go online, register, ride with us tonight, give me your name, but go make sure before next week you register for the ride and you will be covered. Leader signs in too. Online registration makes this easy. Technology is wonderful. If the ride, if you cancel a ride for a reason, send us an email. If it's pouring down rain, we get that. But if there's any other reasons or something, it is nice to get a little documentation in case. So for instance, I quite frankly don't know the details. If you say you're on your own, our ride is canceled, and somebody goes out and rides and gets hurt, theoretically they would not be on a COP ride. But for, I'm pointing to Aaron because he knows that we're going to do what we can to help people. So
I will say that when I cancel a ride, I go out to my weekly ride. I go out to my starting point anyway to catch anyone who might show up, just in case.
Incident report forms. Yeah, they each got one of these. One is a blank form. Keep that with you. We can provide more copies. I will send you a digital copy of this. And this is, she'll be quick. I haven't read it, but this is one we've used for a number of years as a sample incident report. If something happens, or when in doubt, fill it out as completely as you can. Turn it into us, as quickly as you can. A lot of times the ride leader will say, we had an incident last night with a crash, blah, blah. Working on the incident report form, I'll get it, it's coming. You can scan it and email it. You can take a picture and email it. Take a picture and send me a text, whatever. So just make sure it kind of gets in our hands. This is not, what this really does is then when Jill B. Quick says, I had all these medical costs and I've had some out of pocket, I would like to file a claim. This is what I go to then to begin to fill out the paperwork with the insurer. So this is just sort of a record for us to begin to keep it fresh and be able to help take the next steps if we need to. We must be objective with these. Mike.
I can tell you from personal experience that trying to fill this thing out is not hard, but the fact that your person went to the hospital and you don't know what's going on for that period of time is very stressful until you can figure it out and get it all on paper. And I've been one to call Jeff and say, hey, I had this, I'll get the rest of it to you as quickly as I can. But I called him as soon as I knew about it. And it does work well. I don't know if either one of my riders where I had to fill it out for ever came back or not.
Well, the beauty is if you put on there that they were transported, not we called 911, and they were transported to XYZ, wherever, that we've done our part.
Yeah.
So that's a bingo.
Can we share a copy of this with the writer?
I did.
It'd be just fine. Sure. Because quite frankly, if then they need to go with us and file for some additional add-on medical coverage, happy to. As a matter of fact, all the information I pull from us and put on the insurance claim form then goes to the rider. So they see what we've, and I think last year, it's the first time I filed claims in my 3.5 years here, but I think I sent not only this, but the insurance paperwork said, here's what I put together and make sure it's right. Brenda.
I had an incident last year, not on a COP ride, on a different ride, but I was not there when the accident happened. But I got there shortly afterwards. The rider had already been taken by squad, but there was a group of people standing around who had seen. I just turned the record feature on my phone and started asking questions. And then I also took pictures of the scene and got everybody's name. So, just thinking about using your phone to record that conversation, especially if you're not there, then when you have to go back and fill out the paperwork, you have some of that documentation.
Yes, and we've, I know some of Aaron and some of the other ride leaders have sent pictures of the scene, a bike, a picture of a road sign that identifies where things might have happened. That's all good pieces of information. So the other thing is that if you have a group if you're a ride leader that's got multiple groups and you don't necessarily have a COP certified ride leader riding with your C group, your deputies if you have a deputy, they need to know that they need to record this information, provide specifics, and it's upon you as the ride leader to make sure you capture an incident report, even if it's after the fact in the parking lot, and you can talk to witness A, B, and whatever. So, Hilliard I point to because they've got a bazillion qualified COP ride leaders, but then you go to another particular ride which has multiple groups and they only have 1 or 2. So, but all the deputies do know to reach back out to ride leader A if anything happens. So, are we good on that?
So one thing about the incident report form, during an incident, it's often a very stressful time. And I found that the incident report form can be a good reminder of what information I need to collect. So keep me from forgetting things.
Yeah. The most important thing on the form is objective. Please, no subjective. He was riding like a jerk. An asshole driver turned left. They had a phone. I mean, none of that. Objective, just the facts, man. Okay. So we all know this. Emergency, call 911. Anytime you provide first aid, fill out a form. If they might seek medical help, fill out a form. It can be simple. If property is damaged, if Johnny Skin Suit goes off and smashes over a mailbox, fill out a report. A near miss, that would be nice just to have to help protect you as a ride leader and help you see patterns. And here's a beautiful one. If a participant is dismissed or denied participation, we had a situation a few years ago where Johnny Skin Suit was causing troubles in a group. This is more so the case with some of our faster groups in a lot of cases, because the group dynamics are so critical to being safe and effective. But this person was causing trouble, moving in erratic behavior. Aaron is a wonderful ride leader, addressed the fella a time or two, and others helped address in a very professional manner. And then when that wasn't working, said, and I don't know if there was a crash that led to this, but then Aaron said, we're going to bring in a professional coach to help this particular group with our dynamics. 2 weeks later, I saw Johnny Skin Suit on the bike path cause a crash.
Wow.
And I said, what's your name? And he said, so-and-so. I go, you caused a crash a Thursday ago on the Hilliard ride, didn't you? And he just, his eyes went, how did this random guy on the bike path know? No, we're talking about it. Okay, good on incidents. Of course, anything involving violence, anybody who threatens, initiates legal actions, in doubt, fill it out. Leader needs to know about it. This is so you got it. Questions?
Yeah, this is just for like an injury that occurs on the ride, not like someone showing up trying to push like an overuse injury and has to like quit the ride or something. This would not be used for that.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Quick question about witness statements. It says take it on a separate sheet. This sheet as well?
Is there? I think there's room in here. There's room on here for a little witness.
So if you have multiple witnesses,
Yeah.
would be similar. You have multiple sheets.
Yeah.
You still use the same form for those.
Sure.
witness statements?
Sure. Stitch them together. That's fine.
Okay, so real quick here, Mike, you had some specific concerns.
This is from the injured party's perspective. A fellow that's been riding with me and our group for years was out on another ride on a Saturday, just with a group of friends, and had a very serious incident. He went full speed into somebody, whether he passed out before or after the collision, but he was unconscious for several minutes.
Wow.
And they called the squad, and he was transported, and they made arrangements to get his bike back. But he approached me afterwards and said, Mike, he said, you got to let these people know. When the EMTs get there, even whether you got a ride leader, before that guy they leave, you got to tell those EMTs as much detail as possible concerning the fellow's injuries or the woman's injury, because they don't know. They're in shock. They don't know how long they were out. They're disoriented. And so he gets to the hospital. He's been unconscious for several minutes on the side of the road. They don't even run a CAT scan of his head. He's had a concussion.
Wow.
And all they're doing is stitching him up and, oh, you're good. Get the heck out of here. Because a lot of times, especially men, hey, I'm fine, don't worry about it, you know, just had a little tumble, I'll be good, you know, but no, this guy wasn't. And so the EMTs didn't have all the details to communicate that to the emergency room staff. So not only is it important to document it for this purpose, but to let those EMTs know exactly how long he was out, what was his condition, you know, so that they can communicate that when he gets to the emergency room, because that didn't happen in this case. And he's really kind of upset about with his friends that he thought, you know, didn't do this for him.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a good point. I've made a note. I will include that in our specs to ride leaders.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm not sure if people can hear me, but if someone crashes, they hit their head.
Yeah.
So, I don't let them get up. Probably you should. You know, if they're unconscious, that's easy. But you know, I wouldn't let them get up for a little bit. It takes 10 minutes, maybe more, before that adrenaline wears off. And you know, one guy was walking around with a broken hip.
Yeah.
You know. It's like, oh, my hips hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I get someone on the road down the way a little bit to make sure that we're very visible. You might not see a person on the ground. Make sure there's someone, you know, and call 911, provide whatever medical care you can provide. We've been lucky that we've had like emergency room people on at the scene of the crash and stuff. I haven't had to like do anything crazy, but you know, neck injuries, all that kind of stuff, right? You just don't want to. You don't want anyone moving until you're pretty sure that things are okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Had a couple of online comments. There was a question. Do we need to request permission to record a conversation, like from a witness?
Nope.
And the answer is no, that Ohio is a one-party consent state. And then another question, how should you handle the situation if a person doesn't want to sign the waiver or sign up for the additional insurance offered? I've been on rides where the person didn't say they wouldn't, they just didn't.
They're not on the ride.
They're not on the ride.
They're not on the ride is basically it. They're not part of that ride. You can't stop them from being on the road, but they're not part of our group officially.
Yeah. Something happens.
They're on their own.
SOL.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they start with the ride, but they get lost or they get dropped or whatever, are they still covered at that point?
Yep.
Yes, if they registered for the ride, yes. Yeah.
But this would be probably important to note on an incident report form in case that person gets injured and decides to say, hey, I was part of the ride. You have the documentation to say that, no, we warned them. They weren't part of the ride. They're on their own. So
They don't want to sign up because they don't want to get a very wonderful weekly e-newsletter or an ask for cash at the end of the year. So
anyway,
privacy.
Right,
Okay,
keep
yes.
moving.
We offer a number of different type rides. Weekly recurring is what so many of the people here are getting trained for. One-time rides like Top of Ohio, Spot, our ride series rides, of course, those are ride series, and our major tours. That's it. We know what we do. Okay, getting information to us.
Hey, Jeff, one real quick question about the insurance.
Yeah.
So can you talk about what the insurance actually covers and how does an individual that may need
The
to?
most important piece is a $25,000 add-on piece of coverage for medical expenses. So
They didn't have any insurance. Were
they
covered
didn't have any, then they're gonna be able to get 25 on nothing is 25.
Right.
But of course, they theoretically should have something.
And how do they
That's a government conversation.
how do they
we won't go
engage
into.
that if they need to apply? They just go to
What
you?
happens is, yes, they will reach out to the COP office.
Okay.
And we will start that ball rolling. We can't start the ball rolling until their insurance game has played out. So it takes a while. So right now, I'm just starting the process, one that happened in August, September.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you want to create a new ride, it requires approval from COP staff. We have specs. We ask you to provide specs to us. Many of our existing rides, there's so many of them that we're just going to renew and have you approve things. But the process is that you get them through me and Gary Hill, our weekly ride coordinator, the other part-time staffer at Weekly Rides at outdoor-pursuits.org. There used to be activity tiers, but basically we will compile all the weekly rides. And if you decide you want to cover a one-day ride like the Velvet Ice Cream Ride, Team COPC, or the Jackie Robinson one-day ride, or the Women's Day, International Women's Day ride, or the Joy Ride in December, you got to give us some advance notice, and we run it through our process to get it listed with the insurer and just make sure our board knows. Our board will approve a list of all these rides in April. Basically, the most important thing is to get stuff on the calendar. Somehow there's something there. Question?
So if it's not a recurring ride, it's a one-time, we can have that to you by roll no matter what time of the year it's occurring?
For you, it'd be a month before the ride. Would be fine. So you get to us, we make sure it gets to the calendar, and you've got everything you need. Our website, people, looks like this. Oh, so some of the good stuff did get here. We redesigned our website in the late summer, fall. Why do people come to websites? To learn about our major tours, major activities, and look at the calendar. Well, there are 7 or 8 ways to get to the calendar on our homepage now. So the most important one for the weekly rides is top left, that thing with the red box. We have a weekly ride, one of our main 9 tiles now, and then down the bottom, we have a weekly training. We have 2 calendars. One is for just the weekly recurring rides, and the other one is for everything else we do. So when you go to the weekly ride calendar, I sniffed this the other day. We've already populated all the rides for 2025 that we had last year. So we're going to need all the ride leaders to go and check and say they still want to be listed on the calendar and that the information is correct. But when you go to the weekly ride calendar, when you pull it up, you don't have to go to 42 Facebook pages. You go to one page and you'll be able to see 35 rides, all the rides that happen in 1 week. So this is just partially populated. When you hover over your ride, you're going to get a pop-up that says where it is, the Hilliard Bike Source Pelotonia Friendly Tuesday ride. When you click read more, you're going to get the description, all the different groups, A, B, C, you know, what the vibe is for this ride, whether it's, you know, we welcome and encourage new people, helping them train to learn how to ride the bikes. We're mostly on trails. We've got a rivet group who's going to be a no drop kind of ride or a drop ride, you know, so all that stuff is here. The calendar content, if quite frankly, here's the deal. Go to the existing calendar, go pull off a ride and see what information is there. This has been unified for all of our rides. Gary has done this, and we're going to ask you. It isn't there. Okay, good. So here's what we do to review and validate this year's ride. Go find the calendar, click on your ride, and then review the content, the date, time, the location, the narrative, ride leader contacts. Most people do like to have a phone number, an email that they can send a note to somebody and say, I'm brand new, I'm really worried, I'm not sure if I can hang, to whatever. That's the way it was in the old days. We didn't have the internet and ways to go look for stuff, but we still would appreciate and ask you to put contact information for 1 or 2 of the ride leaders. We do want to list all the names of all the ride leaders. So go and double check that, the ride listing, and send us a note back. So there's the email. You can't see it very well. Weekly rides at outdoor-pursuits.org. I have access to see that, but Gary Hill is who you will be in contact mostly on this stuff. Steve Tippett, I don't know if Steve, if you've got access to this one or not yet, but Steve will eventually, touch your ride listing in some form or fashion to compile it and get it out to people in the weeklies. But go double check your listing, say, yes, I'm in, it's the same as last year, or yes, I'm in, it needs these few changes, and send that back to weekly rides at Outdoor Dash Pursuit. In the subject line, please put Tuesday. All our rides, we're starting with the day of the week. Tuesday, pre-dawn donut ride. Tuesday, Hilliard, whatever, okay? That's it. That's all we're asking of you. Yes.
This is a dumb question.
No.
I recognize. What does Pelotonia friendly mean?
Pelotonia friendly is, there's a bunch of people out there who are
Like once a year.
who ride once a year. They have a safety challenge in a way. They really desperately want people to get into cycling and to get prepared for their big weekend. We've really addressed that with groups like Team COPC and Wheels of Color, et cetera. CAS, Huntington, maybe Huntington will have their own. But this is just a way for to say, for the ride leader to say, we welcome people who are going to do Pelotonia. We've got a lot of Pelotonia type people, and we will help nurture you and nurture a new rider along. Team COPC is the gold standard. And I know we've got a handful of their folks in the room today. They by far do the best introduction to new people of anybody out there and shepherd new people.
Mike Garrett is awesome.
Yes.
I mean, every ride he's coaching people on safety and bike etiquette, which is really lacking at Peloton.
Yeah.
Can we see the weekly ride email address one more time?
Oh, there.
There it is.
Weekly rides, plural. And we're outdoor-pursuits.org.
Are you sending the slides out electronically? Did I see that somewhere?
Yeah, probably could make that happen.
That way we've got everything.
Yeah. We've had people.
You email Hank, his email at the end of the talk.
Yeah. This is actually, this is a proprietary training. We've had people from across the country say we'd like to snitch it.
I don't want to snitch it. I just
I know. So that's just between
Charge a
between us
royalty or
friends.
something.
Yeah. Again, the process is that we compile all these. We will put it before the board for a procedural vote, just so that before we present it to the insurer. So just so that we're covering in a governance fashion the fact that all these rides are approved internally by staff, then by the board, and then before going to the insurer. We can jam something and get something to the insurer. It takes a week or two. But once we get into April, I'm going to bug you people to get confirmation of things so we can just send them something once in April. These numbers are, I don't know if they're correct or not, but I think we had 37 rides last year. There were a couple extra one-day rides. How can you not put a star in Canal Winchester? But we have a ton of rides every day of the week, all over the community. I think we had a ride up near Mad Mountain, Zanes, whatever. It's a little group up there. So, we want to help, again, provide a listing where people can find. This is just good for the community, that each ride is not its own entity. People, are local, they're welcome to have their own entity and be exclusive and, whatever, but we want to be inclusive and provide an opportunity for everybody to find their ride. This only helps cycling as a whole.